Hello, hello. It is your favorite Mexican American in Germany. I am truly flying too close to the sun, and I am so tired. But it is okay. I'm so excited to be here with y'all and talking about one of my favorite things, which is moving around the world. So, today's guest, all the way from Sweden, a fellow woman in the trenches. Oh, nope, she's not here. Okay, hold on. Let me try to request her again. Oh, there she is. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Are these gamer headphones?
Perfect. No, it's just I lost my other ones, so I had to buy new ones. But these are not gamer kind, not this time.
Not this time. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's a bit late in Sweden. Are you guys still, or have you already started your long nights?
Yeah, it's been dark for I think like 2 hours, 3 hours now.
Yep.
So it'll get worse. It'll get worse. But that's what sun lamps are for, and that is what vitamin D is for. And then that's how you get through crippling depression in the wintertime.
No, girl, we're not supposed to be talking about that right now. We're supposed to be talking about the magic of Sweden. But before you break face again, can you please tell everyone who you are, where you're from, and where you're currently?
Hey everybody, I am Krista. The main place I'm from is actually the Bahamas, but I was raised in Florida for a little bit for high school and university, and now I'm in Sweden.
And what brought you to Sweden?
And well, a lot of things, but mainly education. I came here for my PhD a few years ago, which I'm still doing now, and I've so far fallen in love with the country. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to stay.
Well, we'll pray for you, girl.
So,
So walk me through this process of choosing a PhD abroad, and why did you do it?
well, it depends on what you're looking for exactly. At least in my field, you're looking for a program that one fits you well, a program that will allow you to have some sort of autonomy and also funding availability. So when I was looking for PhDs, I was looking worldwide, just like I did for my master's. So I was looking worldwide, and I was looking in Florida, I was looking in different parts of Europe, and there were some offerings in like Australia as well. But what I wanted was I needed a program that would fit, that was easy to migrate to, and it was kind of decently cheap to migrate to. And it had, at the time, some very lovely migration policies that were actually fantastic for doctoral students. Funding opportunities, if they were easy or not, if I was able to study what I wanted, and if I was able to create my own project. There are projects available you can choose from, depending on, what you're looking for. For me, I needed a place that would allow me to do the project that I wanted. And Sweden was the only country that was going to allow me to do that. So I came here.
What's your special project that only Sweden will let you do?
Well, I'm an archaeologist by trade, and so what I'm looking at is how to decontaminate bones specifically from either from glues or from the soil. So how can we decontaminate it properly so that we can actually do isotopic analysis on it and get the actual values of what the person ate, where they moved to, how long ago has it been since they passed away, and things like that.
Wow, I think I thought about doing this when I was like 5, and I carried around like a little bucket, and you are truly doing that. And is Sweden known for archaeology? Krista, you there?
Yes and no. Most people, when they think of archaeology, they go for the UK. But I think Sweden has a lot to offer when it comes to it, but the only problem with it is that a lot of archaeologists here are very specialized in only Swedish archaeology. So it can be a little bit difficult if you want to look at, say, Mesoamerican archaeology or things like that, but you can do collaborations, which is still great.
Mm-hmm. Can
Mhm.
you tell us a little bit about the funding process, how you found it, how you secured it, what it's like now?
Well, Sweden is actually quite nice about it. You get paid. So you get a salary every month, and then it goes up every year that you're doing the program. And then it's a living wage, which is fantastic. And it's also taxed, so I do have to deal with Swedish taxes and U.S. taxes. But so I get paid. I don't have to worry about trying to secure funding for living expenses. However, sometimes I do have to secure funding for travel to be able to go abroad and do some analysis, or sometimes I have to find funding just to do scientific analysis. But that there is a lot of available funding for that. There's EU funding that is available that you can look for. There's also in-country, and there's also like collaboration type. So if you're working with somebody from a different country, you can usually collaborate together on one project so you can get funding from that country to be able to do it in another country. So it's kind of it's not a sole process. You have to work together to do things.
Hmm. I'm sure everybody's wondering, like, do you have to have a certain passport in order to do this? And what would you
No,
say?
absolutely not. As long as you have the qualifications, that's really all they care about. However, the migration agency, depending on your passport, it may be easier or harder to get the visa, like a longer period of time. For me, when I got my visa, because I have a U.S. passport, it literally took maybe 2 months at most. But I know people who have passports and citizenships from other countries, like in Central America and Middle East, and it's a lot longer for them, a lot longer process. But usually, in the end, I've not known anybody who got turned away. So.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, give me a chance to try to migrate to Sweden, girl, and then you'll know someone.
Yeah.
I always have the worst luck for some unexplainable reason. Since Sweden sounds so cool and dark, do you think you're going to stay there for a long time?
I'm trying to. I would want to. I just once I get my. That's the thing with it's a bit of a migration thing going on right now. However, I am allowed to apply to extend my visa for another year to look for another job. And then once I have an offering for either permanent position or a position that is 15 months long, at least minimum, then I can apply for permanent residency. So that's after 4 years I can do that. And then the fifth year, I'm able to apply for citizenship. So
Nice.
I'm hoping to get
That's what I'm
to
waiting.
the five. Yeah, I'm hoping to get to the 5 years so I can at least have citizenship.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mhm.
I see a question, which courses, but I'm not sure if that makes sense. Could you please elaborate, and then we'll get to that question. What would you say that Sweden is a good place to build wealth? Because I know a lot of people are concerned about the tax rate, yada, 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 and you're quite the money gal.
Well, for me, it's actually been a lot easier. And like I said, it is a living wage that I have been earning. We started off with, I think, I'm trying to remember, I think it was like 2,300 with the conversion rate. Which courses do they offer? It depends on what you're looking for exactly. My advice is to go and essentially type into the easiest way that I did it was type in what you want to look for, which course you're looking for, and then type in Sweden. And usually you'll come up with different sites and different universities, and it will tell you which courses you can look for. And some of them are in English that are also offered in English. Some of them are in distance, so you'll find everything on there. For me, it was my PhD, but there's also undergrad and master's available.
So you were saying that it's been easier for you to build wealth in Sweden because of?
Because one, I was able to actually get pay, and it was actually a living pay. I live in student housing. I don't have a car. I
Mm,
use the bike to get everywhere. So I cut down my living expenses quite a bit. And the best part is because I, unfortunately, have had to go to the doctor quite a bit for a few broken limbs. So I don't have to pay a huge amount in health costs
hmm.
because of that. And
Yeah.
so that has actually been easier. And then because I had already had stuff set up in the States. As for investments, I just transfer my money over whenever I need to. And because my housing is so low, because you're subsidized, and then the food costs are a bit expensive, and I tried only limit going out to once a week. So I only, so I don't socialize at bars that often, only once a week, if I, at most. And then usually me and my friends will meet up for like a board game night or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we're able to try and keep our costs as low as possible.
Yeah, that's truly the secret. Because if you do the math in like New York or California, you're paying just as much tax as we are. So,
yeah.
And you get much fewer benefits, much fewer safety systems. And then I love what you said about like managing your lifestyle. That's a fantastic way to build wealth while you're in a high tax environment. And you're part of the FIRE community. Do you have your FIRE number figured out?
Yes, I do. And it depends on which country I end up staying in. So if I, it's both education and work, because when you do your PhD, you're doing work as well, but it's mainly for education, because somebody asked that.
Yeah.
What was I saying? Where was I?
Talking about your FIRE number.
Yes. So if I stay in Sweden, it's actually quite low. It's about 400,000 US dollars. But if I went back to the States, it would have to be significantly higher because of the healthcare, and you have to have a car. At least in everywhere I lived in the States, you had to have a car. You didn't have a choice. But here in Sweden, I don't need a car. I can keep my rental expenses quite low as possible. If I move out of student housing, I will have to pay double, but I've calculated that into the FIRE number.
Yeah. Well, 400 is really not that bad. So mine is 800. And I think that's still pretty.
Yeah, but you're also married as well, so I'm by myself.
Yeah, true. And you know, Marcus is not the biggest FIRE club member. He still thinks about it, but I'm actually saving for both of us, and then whatever he brings to the table, I get to spend on purses or some shit like that. Like, I consider that my life and whomever I associate with at that time of retirement is covered. So have you thought of anywhere else to retire?
If I do, I'd go back to maybe Honduras, where my family is, because I would have a network there as well. And it's much cheaper to live there than in most of Europe. So that would also be an option. And maybe going back to the US as well. But honestly, I'd rather stay in Europe somewhere.
Yeah, it's too much fun here. You got good food, good locations to fly to.
It's very easy to travel. It's
we have a question. Please find the FIRE number. So FIRE means financial independence, retire early. And that just means that you figure out how much money you'll need to have in the stock market or in assets in order to sustain yourself in retirement when you no longer work. So I assume Krista is also withdrawing like 4% every year to make sure her portfolio can continue to grow while she just covers her normal costs and lives a very normal life in Sweden. Would that be correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the magic number. You can Google FIRE number and they'll have a FIRE number calculator. And I say
it's essentially your.
Oh, sorry.
It's just your yearly expense. Yeah, I was just going to say it's your yearly expenses times 25 essentially. That's the easiest way to calculate it.
Yeah, but if you're ethnic like us, that's like 35, because we will not die. We will not die. Yeah. More about your wealth building strategies in Sweden, because some people can't really imagine what that might be like outside of the United States.
Well, it's a whole process for me, to be honest. Sorry, kicked over my stand. It's a whole process. So I get my income once a month. I get paid monthly, and then I allocate it to everything I need to. And then I try to save, invest as much as possible. So I try to save a minimum 20%. And then I transfer that over to the US for investments. But then I keep whatever a percentage I need to save in Sweden as an emergency fund in case something comes up, mainly because if you can't get in touch with your family for whatever reason. So
I'm very familiar with the whole currency exchange thing because you can't access that money for like 3 days. And then, of course, people being asleep when you're having a crisis.
yeah, funny story. I was in Ireland. I was coming back to the States after my study abroad, and I missed my flight. And the flight was at 8 a.m. and I missed it completely, slept through. I got to the airport too late, and I called my parents at 2 in the morning, being like, help. And I finally got on a flight the next day, but it was a whole thing.
Yep, I bet. I had a similar situation when I got pickpocketed in China, and this is when I had salmonella, and then they got my phone, and I went home and called my mom at like 5 o'clock in the morning, just in tears, being like, I lost my phone, I can't do it here, I want to come home. But it was actually the fear of failing that prevented me from going home. Like, I didn't want to go home and people be like, oh, you didn't last out in China.
Okay.
I made it. I'm hard-headed and stubborn, and I made it. That's just my personality, though. We have a few questions. What do we do if we want to move abroad to settle without studying from that country? Well, you're going to need to get a sponsorship to work there. And typically that's like highly skilled migrants that have college degrees. Or if there's a labor shortage in your industry, there is some flexibility in the work requirements. So the UK is a great the UK is a great country that specifically highlights what industries the labor shortages are in. And so they have relaxed visa requirements. But for Sweden, what is the work sponsorship process like?
Well, you have to get sponsored as well. They have to initiate your application for you. And then after that, you have to fill in all the documentation. And then the company, have to prove to the migration agency that they couldn't find somebody in Sweden to do that job. And from what I understand, it's just a little letter that says, yeah, we couldn't find anybody. We interviewed X amount of people and things like that. But usually once you apply for something like that, you get it. I don't know anybody who hasn't. Sometimes there's a little bit of issues as to like income, or you have to have a certain income in order to be able to move there, or you have to show that you have enough savings that you can support yourself for X amount of months. But generally the process is not horrible, and it's, from what I understand, it's much cheaper than other countries for a work visa.
Yeah, I think the UK is the worst.
Oh gosh.
Straightforward. But when it comes to the labor market test, what Krista just described, where you have to prove that you're better than the local talent, that is a really arbitrary thing to have to satisfy. So a company, or my company specifically, we have loads of Russians in Germany that don't speak German, but they do speak Russian. So the validation was, oh, we need Russian speakers to access the Russian market in Germany.
Okay.
Yeah. So truly, if you're an American and you're out here, oh, we need someone with American market experience. It's really not as scary as it sounds like. You just need to make sure that you satisfy the requirements, which is often a college degree, a certain amount of work experience, etc. But it makes sense because there needs to be some sort of like qualification and sorting process.
I guess the easiest way, because at least in Sweden is huge on networking. So the best bet is really to get onto LinkedIn and start looking for companies that you would be interested in, and then seeing if you can contact the recruiter and what would be required of you, because networking is a massive thing here.
Oh, Germany as well. Even if you can't speak German, it's a huge, huge thing.
Yeah.
So when I was job hunting here in Germany, I was messaging recruiters and the people doing the job that I wanted. And I was like, hi, I have an essay, I do this, blah, blah, blah. I have some questions about the vacancy you have. Would you mind getting on a call with me for 10 minutes to explain what the day-to-day responsibilities are? And I would get
Mhm.
people on the phone. It was almost like being a salesperson for yourself, but then they
Mhm.
give me a referral into the company for my application, and my application would be on the top stack for the recruiter to look at. So hot
Yeah.
tip.
It's actually better than the coffee one that I've been recommended because it's much easier to get somebody on the phone or on a video call than it is to get them to leave their office for coffee. So that is a very good tip.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to advocate for yourself, who will? So you
Exactly.
really need to make sure that this is something that you want, because it will not be easy. What's the worst visa story that you have? Have you ever been just like shut out of a country?
No, but the most difficult one was the one for the UK.
Really?
Yeah, um, I almost didn't get it because at the last minute, you had to print it on A4 paper at the time.
Mm.
You had to actually print it out and mail it. And it had to be on A4 paper, and everybody was printing it on the US, whatever the size is for the US.
Mm.
And so half the questions were being cut off. And somebody else realized it before we mailed it. But that was, the only thing. Otherwise, I've not had too many issues with visa applications at
Well,
all.
I'm so happy for you. I'm mildly jealous. Um, and I have had such a long day at work, so we are going to wrap up our live. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your story with us. Where can everyone find you, and do you have any projects coming up?
Well, everybody, I'm on Instagram as well, Richful Thinker blog. I don't know if y'all can see that. And you can ask me any questions that you want as well. I'm pretty easy to contact in that way. And right now, I'm just trying to focus on finishing up and my PhD. But of course, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer and send you any links that might help you if you need movement into something.
Of course. And if you're interested in doing a degree abroad in Europe, I have a list of free and affordable universities for master programs that specifically focus on English programs. So that is in my Move Abroad Starter Kit, which is linked in my bio. You can go ahead and cop that so you can be like Krista and be abroad studying on an affordable program and living your best life. So thanks so much, Krista. I really appreciate you being here, and I will see you on the internet.
Yes, I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.